Hi, everybody. It's Heidi from Costume Co. I am here tonight with our distinguished guest, Robert from Deep Geek. Hello, Robert.
Hi there, Heidi. Great to be here. I love your channel, and it's an honor to be a guest here.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I've been wanting to have, actually, I did my very first live stream with you on your channel.
You did.
That was sort of my, foray into live streaming. So I'm so excited to have you on my channel tonight.
Well, it's brilliant. As I say, I can remember encouraging you to get into live streaming because I thought you'll be a natural. And then when you did your first one, I was right. So it's fantastic to be here.
Thank you so much. Okay, so why don't you tell everyone? I mean, I know a lot of people in the chat here know who you are, but for those who don't, you want to tell them a little bit about yourself and your channel?
My channel is in Deep Geek. I look at Westworld and I look at Game of Thrones, and I try to get a little bit underneath the surface so we can analyze things in detail. We have a look not just to sort of the wow, let's get excited about this, but actually try and analyze to understand what's going on. I try to get content out a few times a week, and at the moment with Westworld, and I'm doing a pre-show live stream with Westworld every Sunday at 6 p.m. and also getting an explained video out as soon as possible afterwards. So if you're at all interested in Westworld, Game of Thrones, just a little bit of detail, then please do check out In Deep Geek.
So tonight's broadcast, tonight's live stream is going to be all about Westworld. So we're going to be really excited to talk about that. Should we say hi to a few people in the stream here? Absolutely. So Sonia, she was here first. Hi, Sonia. And Cindy Cox is here. 30-day reviews. He's one of my fellow creators, Robert, that I sort of we're in sort of a group together. So he's actually going to be moderating for us tonight. Fantastic. And I have to tell him that he doesn't have to stay for the whole stream. Last time he stayed the whole stream, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. So you don't have to stay the whole stream otherwise. And AU Pack Mule's here. He's one of your viewers, I believe, and now my viewer.
Absolutely. Good man. A bit of a legend in the Game of Thrones world, it has to be said, AU, and Westworld as well.
And then we've got Peglegpete is here. Lost for Words, and Amberlyn's here. Amberlyn McKay is here. Jasmine List. So we've got a pretty good little showing so far. That's pretty awesome. Thanks everyone for coming. So I just was, so the first thing I wanted to mention is, guys, if you're into Westworld, I have 3 videos on Westworld. Robert's got lots of videos on Westworld. If you check out his channel, his link is in the description below. Robert, I put your link there. And I have links to my 3 videos, which are on the Costumes of Westworld from season 1. So if any of you want to check those out, they're there. So Robert, so there's a few things that came down the pipe today. Some weird, we haven't really had much time to even think about it, but there's been a lot of talk, some tinfoil hat type theories that have been happening regarding Bernard potentially being Teddy, like at the end of the 2 weeks. We're talking about season 2, folks, by the way, episode 1. But then I also saw something that maybe Bernard is actually Dolores. Like, how crazy is that?
Yeah, and this is the wonder of the show, is that both of them could be true, because we simply do not know. For my money, that all of this season is going to be focused in on this 2-week period, because something has happened. Things have changed in this 2-week period. All the hosts seem to have gone over to that place and got apparently drowned. Bernard seems to have lost the shakes and seemed to have been miraculously cured, but also still slightly confused now. So there's a lot of things that we need to try and work out have happened in that period, and central to it all is going to be Bernard all the way through it. So you'll see in all of the different timelines that we had in episode 1, Bernard/Arnold was in all of them.
Yeah. And so, this is the thing. So, even though, guys, we're putting this stuff out there, I mean, really nobody knows except for Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy and, the crew and cast, obviously. But, Reddit speculates about all kinds of things. They come up with theories. Sometimes their theories are right. Like, it's turned out that way sometimes, especially where Game of Thrones has been concerned. They've come up with, like R plus J equals, or what is that? R plus
L equals J.
I've got my things out of order. You know what I mean? So, but I was saying, I think it was Sonia I was talking to about this in Amberlyn. You know, really, we have no idea. We have no idea if any of this is true. So I did put in the description. There will be spoilers, though, because I just noticed 30-day reviews commented on that. So, guys, there will be spoilers up to like Westworld, up to the first episode. OK, I just assume we would all know that, but maybe we don't. So, Robert, why don't we start? So what I did, we did this with Justin on Wednesday, and I have a bunch of pictures. Like I just put it into a PowerPoint, and I thought we could go through this. How does that sound to you?
It's absolutely perfect.
Okay, so I just have to figure it out. So, so I'm going to do this. And then, sorry, I just have to,
Whoa, clever.
Oh, sorry. I have to do this, sorry. I'm just getting you, can you see it now?
I can, yeah.
Okay. So we're going to start off. I can go to here. I'll go to the slideshow mode, and then I'll be full screen. So we're just going to go in order. So I thought we would start off with Bernard Arnold. Now, who is this here, though? This is obviously this is Bernard.
This is Bernard, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So here he is with Charlotte Hale. So do you have anything you want to say about what's going on at this point in time?
Yeah, so this one is this was in episode 1. So what was happening here is that we get a lot of the storylines that we saw in episode 1 were from the same point in time, which is picking up almost immediately after the massacre at the end of season 1. So here, this is at the beginning of season 2, and we got a few of the guests managed to escape, and they were hiding out in the barn, and 2 of those were Charlotte Hale and Bernard, and the other people you can see behind them. So what they're doing here is trying to get away out of Westworld and back to safety. So I think the main point I would draw out here is that we get this is one of I think 3 different timelines, the other ones being Maeve and the Man in Black, that are happening at the same time.
Yeah, there's so many timelines. It's kind of almost overwhelming in a lot of ways. It's funny. Iron Throne calls them Bernarnold. It's like a mashup. Bernard. Okay, so then now why actually I have this picture, and the reason why regarding this tinfoil hat theory of Teddy being Arnold, or Arnold being Teddy, I should say. One of the things that had come out in Reddit is that they're wearing the same clothes. So I just had this picture because I just wanted to show you here that, you know, Arnold is actually he is wearing a gray suit, but Teddy's is just a completely different outfit. Like Arnold's is, sorry, Bernard, his lapel is like you know, got a binder, you know, it's got a bit of some grosgrain around it, and it's straight across, whereas like Teddy's is like sort of notched, and the jacket is like a little bit more like a linen. So, you know, they are completely different. They're not the same. Just to throw that back out, that theory out away.
Absolutely. And just for those who aren't aware of that theory, because we've talked about it a couple of times, so the idea is that the Bernard we see in the sort of the 2 weeks later timeline, when he wakes up on a beach, it's a Bernard body, but it's not actually him inside. And the thinking is that this might be Teddy. And there's a few different hints that I've seen around as to why this might be. First of all, he seems to not have the scar that he has earlier on in the earlier timeline. He seems not to have the shakes, so he certainly seems to have been fixed up at the very least. Yeah,
so it could be, I mean, and this is something in the spoilers, but we saw pictures of multiple Bernard bodies, right?
Absolutely. So there are a number of Bernard bodies out there, or somewhere downstairs. So it's entirely possible that a different host consciousness has been downloaded into Bernard. Now, this is probably connected into what has happened with all those bodies, because if the bodies are there lying, having been killed in some way, although I'm sure Jonathan Nolan said that they don't technically need oxygen to survive, what's happening to their consciousnesses? Where have they gone? But there's a lot of little hints there with, as I say, with Bernard, that perhaps this might not be him, or everything might not be as it first appears. There's his glasses, which he seems to be going around without. There's
that's true. Yeah.
The Rick Roll video, which I'm sure lots of people saw. In that, there was a lot of sort of cutting to and fro of Bernard looking down at his hands when he was on a train, doing the sort of the Teddy intro in season 1, but his hands were a white man's hands. They were very clearly not his hands.
Yeah.
So were they trying to give us a hint there?
Yeah, that's kind of okay. So I'm not sure. Oh, okay. So I pulled this one up. This is we talked actually on Wednesday. We talked a lot about the drones, but this was a pretty exciting scene. Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, so this follows on from the last one when you saw Bernard and Charlotte. So the other guests, it turned out, were pretty much red shirts, so they died. And then Charlotte says, hey, there's actually a secret facility that you didn't know about, and so takes her and Bernard down into this mini lab, and we just get a little bit of an insight into some of what Delos have been doing behind the scenes while Westworld, the park, has been happening, what they've been doing. And one of the things here we see is Bernard discovers what are called drone hosts, who from the trailers looked like they were sort of slightly militaristic versions of hosts, but here they seem to be doing things that lab technicians would be doing, and they seem to be able to know not to harm him and Charlotte because of a DNA test that they had to take on the way in.
Yeah, and if anybody wasn't in the stream on Wednesday, we talked in this quite in depth, Robert, is that these are actually practical. These characters, they're not CG. They're men dressed up in these sort of latex suits. They're ballet dancers. Did you watch that video? The one they had a sort of an after the show behind the scenes of how they came up with these costumes.
I didn't, but I think you can certainly tell from the way that they're moving.
Yeah, and I think we were talking about, like Justin and I were talking about, maybe it was important. Like obviously, you can see Jeffrey Wright here. He has really something awesome to go off of, in terms of acting, and his reactions were pretty genuine. Like the horror kind of that he had at seeing them, because it was clear that he had never seen these before.
Yeah, and I think that this, when you actually stop and think about what's going on here, is that this is making the leap from the fact that a host doesn't have to be connected to a human body. Here we've got one step on to a host body that's not got a face or anything like that. But why does it have to be in a human-shaped body? Why can't you have a host downloaded into a tank or anything else? You could make hosts anything. So this is actually just the scraping the surface of what this technology can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, one of the things, like the actors who play the drones are 6'4", so they, they're tall and they're obviously very, sinewy and muscular looking. And I know there was some foreshadowing. We saw some pictures, I think, from one of the trailers where they were showing the drones actually lifting up like a human. So we know they're strong, right? So do you think there's a potential that there could be, eventually a drone army?
I think there's a potential that there already is a drone army, actually. I mean, I think that one of the bits of background that we've been told that it was in season 1, actually, Ford was saying, is that war has been abolished. There's no more war in the outside world, which for something that's set in the relatively near future, it seems astonishing. And so you have to wonder what on earth has changed in the world to create the situation where there is no more war. One of the things that might have done that is free access to having host soldiers who can't be killed. Maybe that is a way of ending war. I don't know. So I think the technology is definitely going to be out there somewhere. It's a matter of where it's being used. And yes, I'm sure that before the show ends, then we will be seeing a full drone host army somewhere along the way.
And then this shot, of course, was a pretty important scene in episode 1.
Yeah, so here we're getting the revelation that they have been extracting things from the guests when they came in, and the two things that they name checked were the DNA, which we knew about, and also their experiences. So we saw elsewhere in the episode that there seems to be video footage of everything that a host sees, and so as a result, all of the guests who have come in, they might think that they're away from prying eyes, and so they can do whatever they want, but everything they're doing is being observed, and that data is being collected. And so for each guest who's come in, there's suddenly this huge amount of data, not just about their genetic makeup, but also about how they talk, how they move, what they like doing, what they don't like doing, what they're like when they don't think anyone's there looking. So there's a huge amount of information that's being amassed there.
And one of the things I was wondering, like, you got to wonder what's going on with privacy laws, in at this time, like in the future, when they're able to collect this data, unless they guess sign some kind of waiver, signing over the rights to them.
Yeah,
Delos.
there is in one of the mass of bits of information that we've been given. There is a contract for guests to sign, which says all the things that they're giving up, which includes things like their DNA and also any ideas that they might come up with while in the park and talking to people. Those ideas also belong to Delos. So there's a huge amount of stuff that they're signing over.
Sure.
I think the only thing I would add there is that something else we learned in episode 1, season 2, episode 1, was quite how powerful Delos were and are. You got this; it's just a small vignette where you had what looked like a representative from a sovereign country coming and complaining about what's going on, and basically just being told to go away. And not just being told to go away, but told they have to sign a non-disclosure agreement. So the power in that relationship was with the company, not the country, which is a massive shift.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, did you ever see Rollerball? Norman Jewison directed it.
No.
It's basically a sort of a utopia where the corporations run the world. I guess kind of like Running Man as well, but a little bit more sophisticated in Rollerball. And they have this, national sport or this international sport that everyone plays. James Caan starred in it. So it was interesting. Like there was none of this idea that, we have sovereign countries. It's basically everything was run by corporations. What I wanted to comment on here, I just noticed this. This is so fun. In the cabinet behind the two drones, I noticed there's a cabinet with sort of opaque glass, and on one side are black hats and on one side are white hats. Did you notice that?
Oh yeah.
That's kind of a fun thing, eh?
Fascinating.
Those little subtle details they do.
Yeah.
Lots of that on Westworld.
I feel sure they could have stored them in a slightly more efficient way, but
Yeah.
Well, one hat per drawer probably is not the best way, but you never know.
Yeah. I'm just wondering why I'm assuming it's for, I don't know, maybe for the Charlotte Hales or something, because she got a change of clothes when she was there. So
yes, which fit. So yeah, I assume that's her stuff that's stashed. Yeah,
exactly. So now, here we move on to this scene. Now, this would be Bernard like later, as I had mentioned. He's wearing a different outfit, so this would be the 2 week later after he gets found on the beach. What did you want to say about him here? I've got him actually. Yeah, that's the last picture of him.
So again, this is slightly later on. So he has been. He's been picked up. He's been rescued. Stubbs has magically appeared, and I think what we're seeing is a play out of the fact that Delos let things. This for me in this scene was the thing that I found fascinating. Is that Delos let things alone for 2 weeks. They didn't. This force took 2 weeks to go there, and they say communication's been down, so they know nothing about what's been happening. And it's only when they get all their futuristic radar or whatever it is and say, hey, all the hosts are gone over there. That's the only point at which they know what's going on. So it's this 2 week period really is the crux of it all, because Delos just gave up on it.
Okay, so Mr. Caller 123 says we don't know if it is 2 weeks. Strand is not reliable. What do you think of that?
That's a very valid point. I mean, I think that
we're just going by what we're told, right? At this point.
Well, we are, and also it seems to make sense because we do know that there are some things which probably would have taken a while. So to get all of the hosts in Westworld amassed in one place wasn't just a thing which could happen in a click of fingers. To get a huge lake suddenly appear is not something that could have happened in just a click of fingers. So things must have happened, and so there was a break between what happened with the massacre and Delos arriving. And we even heard Charlotte Hale when she was talking to Delos, and they were saying, well, we're not going to send anyone in until we get the data, the package, the data that's in Peter Abernathy's brain out. So we heard the threat, and then we've seen things did happen. So there is a break, I think, between the massacre and the forces arriving on the beach. And I personally, at the moment, can't see any reason why 2 weeks isn't about right. That seems about the right amount of time. So until we hear something different that proves us otherwise, then I think it's a reasonable assumption going forward.
I just stopped the pictures for a moment. There's a few comments in the chat. You mind if I go ahead and read them?
Yeah,
Sonia noticed the hats too. So Sonia Rangel note the black and white hats and the storage in the background. I didn't even see your comment. I just it was like our brains were like, together there. Angel Lover 02171, hosts don't have to have humanoid bodies. That makes me think of Ghost in the Shell, the first season. I've only seen the movie. Is there a TV show on that, Angel All Over? Do you know that movie, Robert?
I don't know. I know of the movie. I haven't seen it, but no, I didn't know if there's a TV show. I didn't know about it.
Yeah, and so 30-day review says, if you know everything about the rich, you could stop all wars, and the ones going to the park are the rich. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's very true. But the implication is that that the data has not been managed to be extracted yet from the park. This is what Ford was foiling them at every point. So if wars have already been stopped, then that's happened without that data having been extracted.
Yeah. Now, one thing I was reading today is like in Future World, it's a terrible movie, I know, but apparently they were going around replacing world leaders with androids or with robots. Do you recall that?
Yeah, so this is one of the big theories about what they're trying to do, what Delos are trying to do, because it was in Future World, the sequel to the original movie Westworld, and the idea there is that yes, that when a guest comes in, they make a clone of them, a host, and sends the clone host out. And there is actually, it's interesting, there is a sort of reference to this in Westworld Season 1 in the episode title. The first episode title is called The Original, and that was what they called in Future World. That's what they called the guest who came in and had a clone made of them. They called them The Original. And so there was just a sort of a hint that they know about Future World. It is a thing there. And so when they started off, the first thing that we see in Season 1, Episode 1 is, of course, Arnold. We thought it was Bernard at the time, but actually it was the original Arnold talking to Dolores. So there was clearly a play on that. So yes, this is one of the theories about what they might be trying to do, which is sort of backed up by the collecting all the experiences thing as well as the DNA.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to ask you, so there's two scenes where they're taking out the light bulb. I don't know what everyone's calling it, out of the head.
The brain thing.
The brain thingy. So someone had mentioned, I saw this somewhere, that likely that's going to play into it. Do you not think that's going to be like, you open up a drawer, you find a gun, you look at it, you put it back in there? What do you think? Do you think that will come into play, be a significant plot point?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that one of the things we've been told about Season 2 is that we will learn a lot more about how the hosts work, how they are built, what actually makes them up. And so one of these things, I think, is definitely what that the head thing is, the brain thing. It certainly seems to be recording what the host saw. And there was also a shot from the main trailer of something being made, a sort of a round red ball type thing being made, that it has the look of something that could be sort of the equivalent of a sort of a heart or something like that, which would with the song which was playing over it, which was Heart Shaped Box by Nirvana.
Oh, yeah.
So that I think we're going to learn a lot more about how hosts work, because I think that's going to be important to how this ends and why all those hosts are floating in the water.
Okay, and then here's another comment from Angel All Over. It says, I think another YouTuber mentioned that the dead should have been more decomposed than they were. I don't know if this was a gaffe or on purpose. Oh, sorry, I'm not. When he means the dead, I'm not sure what he means. You mean the ones floating in the water? Or does he mean like the dead at the massacre? Because Robert did have, maggots coming out of his eyes or something, right?
Yeah, so the guests at the massacre, we saw the massacre at a couple of different points. We saw the immediate aftermath of it. So the next morning when we saw the man in black pushing some bodies off of him and going up, so we saw that then. And then we also saw it in the 2 weeks later timeline, when the security forces do a sweep through it. And then, yes, as you say, that's when we saw the maggots coming out through Ford's eye, which again I think is a hint that yes, there has been a period of time between the two, and 2 weeks seems as much as any. In terms of the hosts in the water, we don't know when they died, and I say died, we don't actually know that they have all died and what died actually might mean, but we do. But that could have just been literally a couple of hours beforehand. All we know is that Bernard says that he did it, and that body of water wasn't there before. So it could have happened at any point in that 2 weeks, but the assumption is towards the end, because one of the bodies was
Teddy, yeah. And also because we don't know that they may not decompose the same way that humans do.
They may not.
The hosts.
They may not, but we do know that they are increasingly organic.
Yeah.
So
One of the things I wanted to know is, this is just my own thing. So Bernard had DNA, but I never thought that a host would have DNA.
Well, it seems that they must do, or when he was built. Then that's something that Ford put into him, because obviously out of all of the hosts, he was the one that had to be the most human-like, because he was living with and working with humans all the time. So I could certainly see that Ford would have added in extra layers there. And I think that it wasn't, I've heard a few people sort of say, how did he get in? The door wasn't a host checker. It didn't check to see, is this person a human or not a human? It probably would have just checked back against its records and said, okay, I recognize who that person is, therefore I will let them in.
Yeah, because it's likely that I know I'd asked you this. Would Ford have known about this other secret facility? But you said likely he would have known.
I think so. I think Ford knew everything that was going on. I think that he just decided that he didn't. What mattered to him was that he made sure that the data didn't leave the park. It was okay as far as he was concerned, for them to be doing whatever they wanted to be doing in the park. They owned it after all. But what he wanted to do was manage to keep a tight grip on the hosts, the management of the park as a whole, and what happened with that data.
Yeah, Amberlyn has a great question. This was sort of coming up today. She asked you, do you think Bernard was experiencing PTSD since he was developed to be more human? Yeah,
great question. I think yes, probably. I think the thing with Bernard is that there's definitely something. Well, we've got two bits of Bernard to clarify. We've got the immediately post-massacre bit, and then we've got the bit 2 weeks later. The bit 2 weeks later, he certainly seems shaken, he certainly seems different, but at the same time, he's not got the shaky hand thing. So there's definitely something going on there. But the thing with Bernard is that he's always been very contemplative. So he's not he's not the kind of person to immediately be saying things all over the place. He will go around with I'm just trying to take in this information, which is probably the same kind of thing that somebody who's suffering from some kind of PTSD in that position would be doing, not all of the time, but quite a lot of the time, just trying to going through this cognitive dissonance. What is going on here?
Yeah, the great answer. I totally agree with you. I'm just going to go back to sharing. We're going to go back to the pictures. Is that okay? Sorry,
Absolutely.
guys.
I love the sort of Inception look that you're getting with.
I know.
With all the
That's not
pictures.
weird. I know. I don't. I'm. I'm new to all this. I was joking. Justin and I were joking about this on Wednesday because I'm. I was emailing you like, how do I do these streams? And so I'm very new to this, but we did it. We did this on Wednesday. And I thought it went really well, and then people get to actually see the pictures, and it's sort of fun. It's like a show and tell, then, right?
Well, I absolutely, and
Yeah.
I find it very amusing when you're asking me how to do it. So you're already ahead of me. I don't have pictures on my live stream, so it's as Justin would well know, he probably was trying to save my blushes, but technology is not my strong suit.
I know I was having a really rough week last week because I had to do a phone call and I had to record it. And I'm like, oh my God, am I going to do this? And I was freaking out. So anyway, I was feeling like pretty accomplished this week with my tech, Robert.
I'm impressed.
Oh, thanks. Okay, so let's go to Dolores then and Teddy, and then we'll probably touch on. I don't know. Do you call them the masked bandits? What do you call these guys over here?
I've been calling them the Wyatt cultists.
Wyatt cultists. Okay.
Yeah.
So
but masked bandits works too. We can go with that.
Bandits. I think. Yeah. So one of the things I'd asked Justin about these guys, like. I thought it was interesting that their eyes are covered. So I thought, well, because they're drones, because they're hosts, do they really need to see? Like, do they have to have the ability to see except to, be recording what's going on around them?
Again, we don't know this. My guess is that they have been built so that the eyes are still light receptors, because that's what they're designed to be when
Sure.
So I think that's probably what it is. As for why these guys have got masks over their faces, my best guess is because it looks cool.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Like it looks to me like there's a zipper at the front. Maybe they can open it if they go, oh, I have to peek out there. But I think it was the cool factor too, because you had asked me a while ago, what do you think was going on there? And I was like, I'm not even sure. But yeah, it just has a bit of a cool factor. So let's go back to these guys here. Now this is actually a promo shot. This isn't. I don't think these are from Entertainment Weekly. So I think these shots are actually. I don't know that they're actually in the show or if they're just like stills. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. There's 3 of those 4 that you've shown there were definite promo shots, because they.
Yeah.
So the one that isn't is this
one
there.
Yeah.
That one is from. I think that might have actually been in episode 1. But the others, they got the main cast, the central cast members together just in that little area and did a few shots of them all together. So that's where they come from.
So what do you want to talk about regarding Dolores? What do you think her MO is at this moment, or her what's her sort of end goal, do you think?
Well, I think she gave quite a good account of herself here in saying what it was that she was wanting, and actually she has upped the game considerably, because we thought, first of all, she's got she's got 3 personalities really at the moment, that just to make things nice and easy. So she's got the Wyatt personality character, which she's got the old Dolores rancher's daughter one, and she's got her own one, which is sort of developing out from the 2 of them and from her own experiences. So she's quite a multifaceted character at the moment. But in terms of where she's going, she was very clear that yes, there's certainly an element of revenge going on here, of killing guests and Delos board members and all the rest of it. But she's got a bigger goal, which is that she realizes that she can't. Teddy wanted to settle down in a ranch somewhere because his whole programming thought that was the thing to do. And she says, no, that's not going to work. Nor is actually taking control of Westworld, because there's a bigger world out there, because she says she can remember it. And we've seen shots of her out in the outside world, which we can talk about later if you like. And so she knows that there's a bigger outside world, and she thinks that the only way to ensure that she and that the hosts as a whole can survive is by getting out of the park and taking over the world as a whole. So she's gone from being somebody who just like shot a few people in a theme park to somebody who's trying to take over the entire world.
Yeah. So, but what I think is interesting, though, is that what are her allegiances to Teddy? Because if she's like fully woke and then he's not, she remembers everything. I mean, she would know, like on an intellectual level, at least, that her and Teddy, that was just written for her. So, what do you think her attachment to him is?
I think it's complicated. So I think that there is part of her which was Dolores Abernathy, who was programmed to care about him, and I think that is still part of who she is.
Yeah.
And I think that we saw when she had the Wyatt programming going on way back 35 years ago, that was actually working with Teddy. So the two of them, even as Wyatt, have got a sort of working together kind of thing going on. And in terms of her and her personal development as a character, the person who has been sticking by her through this 2-week period is Teddy. So she clearly, if there's anyone that she's going to be developing feelings for as a person herself, it will have to be Teddy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's actually, well, I have a picture. We'll get to that, but I have this other picture of the two of them, and you'll see. We can get to that. It's going to be like under future episodes. So next, we're going to go to Maeve, and here she is again. This is from the Entertainment Weekly pictures with Lee Sizemore, and so she sort of looks at things a little bit differently. I was saying this today, that she's sort of able to intellectualize and think, maybe this guy can help me in some way. Even if she doesn't like him, maybe even though he's a human, she does sort of, I don't know. Do you think she's perhaps a little bit sympathetic to people, to humans?
Yeah, she is. So she's at base, she has shown that she is capable of empathy and sympathy and care. She was so violent at the end of season 1 that we kind of like gloss over and think that that's who she is. But her entire arc, it seems to now be she's looking for her daughter, which is a matter of caring. She went to try and find Hector again, and she's clearly got some feelings developing for him. There was the hosts, Clementine, we know that she cares about. There was the other host who I think worked in the saloon, who she passed by just in episode 1, again showing empathy for what's going on there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, when she was sitting on the floor, slumped on the floor.
Yeah, exactly. And even Felix at the end of season 1, if she were this kind of callous, heartless host who just hates humans, she could have killed him once she'd used him, but she didn't. She actually turned around and gave him a compliment and then went on her way. So
I love how she calls everyone darling.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, darling. I've got a few questions here. Some really great. Here, I'm just going to come out of here again. Just going to come out of here for a second again, Robert. Just some really great comments going on in the chat here. I want it to be interactive, everybody. So let me see where I got to here. So, oh yeah, Amberlyn wrote, about a pack mule. I saw your comment about how difficult riding and shooting a gun would be. I know how to ride, but can't imagine being in a gallop and firing a weapon, though I'd love to try. Oh yeah, that would absolutely. So I'm sure the actor who plays Dolores went through some rigorous training for that. Is the valley beyond the real world outside of the parks? That's from Mr. Caller 123. What do you think?
Yeah, well, it could be. I think that the valley being referred to is the valley that got flooded. But there is very much this idea, and I put it in my episode 1 video, episode 1 explained video, is that I think what this is about is Dolores leading her people out of Westworld, and this is quite a sort of like an Old Testament-y kind of feel to it, this kind of Moses feel of like crossing through the water to try and get to the other side. And so yes, there's definitely this, and when she's saying to the Ghost Nation. Not everyone deserves to get there. That's what she's talking about, is that she is actually being picky about who she has on her team. And obviously there are reasons why the Ghost Nation she might be slightly suspicious of, because they're Ford's tools. So I think the Valley Beyond is both about the valley that they went to, which got flooded, and also symbolically the other side, outside of Westworld, that to the hosts who have no idea of the outside world, then the Valley Beyond sounds quite something they could conceptualize.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe even possibly like biblical to me.
The
Valley Beyond, something you read in a Bible, or Amberlyn McKay, she said at the end they were going to be together. She's talking about Teddy and Dolores here, but I don't know how she could know that. How could she know that? Maybe she's just speculating.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of the lines that I wasn't 100% sure on in episode 1, and when I say I'm not 100% sure on that just means that we don't know yet exactly what this means. When she's saying that she understands it all, she also talked about understanding the future, which you can either take as being a quite a literal thing. Is this some sort of magic-y thing that she's claiming, which I think is probably unlikely, or is she just very good at predicting stuff now because she knows where it's all going to end? She can figure it out. I think that's probably what it was, but watch this space in case there's something deeper to that.
Okay, and here's a question for me. I'm not okay. Amberlyn asks, Carrie asks, costume code, do you have a guess as to which actual tribe the Ghost Nation is based upon? And I haven't researched it, but I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe Apache. It would be like some in the Midwest. I at first looked kind of Iroquois, and I know the actor who plays the main character, he's going to be featured. The one that was in an accident. Did you hear about that, Robert?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, so they had to shut down production because he was injured. So I know he's a significant player, and we see him. He's the one with the black makeup on the top of his head. So I'd have to check. I don't know a lot. My father actually has a master's in native anthropology, but his area of study is Iroquoian and Algonquian. So I don't know much about the southern U.S. So I'll have to look into that. I was just waiting until we started getting into it. I don't really have a lot of information at the moment. I wanted to wait till we got more into it. The same with the samurai. So guys, I will find that out for you though. Robert, you don't have any idea, do you?
I have no idea at all, I'm afraid.
Okay. Yeah. And Amberlyn says, this is such a great live stream. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Amberlyn, I want to thank you. She's my latest patron on Patreon. Actually, all my patrons I put in the description below. Thank you so much, you guys, all my new patrons, including Peglegpete is here too. Peglegpete says, I was watching a Teddy Roosevelt documentary yesterday. Everyone in the Rough Riders could ride and shoot. Oh, they're still talking about the riding. And then someone said they would fall off the horse if they had to do that. I don't know. That's what would happen to me. I would totally fall off the horse. I think they can actually strap you to the horse if they have to. Right, Robert? They just tie you on.
I think for some actors they probably would have to. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I want to tell you, this is really nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I decided to watch the old Westworld.
Oh, cool.
And it was actually really fun, and I streamed it, and it was shocking because there was only one available, but it was such a great cut of it. Like, it was really clean and the quality was good. And one of the things I laughed about, what happens is when James Brolin and Richard Benjamin are going into the park, and they're in a hovercraft instead of a train. They do that. Mm-hmm. So Richard Benjamin is like kind of like fixated on what his gun's going to be like and what his outfit's going to be like, and the Brolin character's already been there, so he's all relaxed. But he kept going, so am I going to have those like leather ties where I can tie my gun belt down? And then I was laughing today because I was looking, and Teddy actually has those ties on his because it helps you apparently with the quick draw. Like, keeping the ties on there. So I thought that was really funny. But if anybody hasn't seen it, it's a little bit goofy, like it is, but I the source material. But I wanted to watch it because I think there's probably they are going to be borrowing some things from it, even if it's just very, very subtle. I thought it would be good to be able to reference back to it. But my general comment about it, though, is that the costumes, not the Westworld costumes so much, but the medieval costumes are just terrible. It's just like, it looked like they went to, one of those fun, like medieval fair places and rented a bunch, and everything's like in these crazy bright colors and tacky polyester. It was just really bad.
They had a Rome world as well, didn't they?
The Roman world.
Like
yeah.
Or something. It was, yeah.
Yeah, and Dick Van Patten's in it, from Eight is Enough. It was pretty funny. But anyways, no, it's worthwhile. And like Yul Brynner is amazing. Like he is stellar in that role. And he never gets off his loop. He's just like determined,
Yeah, for me, that's the main point to see that film, is that Yul Brynner is excellent in it. And I mean, I know there are a lot of people who don't like the film. I really enjoyed that film. It's not a great piece of art.
No.
We shouldn't pretend it is, but it had some really good ideas. It had a fantastic performance from Yul Brynner, and it was good enough to be able to spawn the TV show that we've got today.
Oh, and I just want to say, Justin Thomas is here, by the way. It was his birthday earlier this week, so he said he went out for his birthday tonight. Isn't that nice? So I hope you had a great birthday, Justin.
Happy birthday.
And he's been sick. Mr. Caller 123 says the Dothraki stuntmen in Game of Thrones 7, I think he means season 7, episode 4, did stand on horses and shoot arrows. That was not CGI. That's pretty amazing. So they would have been probably trained. Like they probably hired, the stuntmen were probably like trained stuntmen, right, to do that. Whereas the, Dolores, Rachel, what's her name again? Evan Rachel Wood. Sorry. She's an actor. To my knowledge, she's never done anything like that. So they would have had to specially train her. So are there any more questions here? I think we're caught up, guys. If I missed a question, just let me know. And then, because we're just going to get back into it because we only have so much time here. Okay. So I'm going to do my crazy. I'm going to do my crazy thing here again.
Excellent.
Oops,
Get ready for the Matrix, guys.
So I went to share that, and then, but I'm going to go here, and then, so we'll go back to, so we'll just go back to Maeve again.
Fantastic.
Oh, so here, okay, so let me just share this out like that. Can everyone see?
Yeah.
So here we've, so Maeve found Hector, and she's brought him back and she's repaired him. So what do you want to say about this? This is that whole scene.
Well, I think partly this is, again, showing Maeve's caring side, which is coming out more and more. She could have just patched him up and got him out as long as he was working. But no, she seemed to be doing this with care, so as not to be hurting him particularly. But also, I think the important point here is, or the two important points, I think for me, are Maeve still has all her talents and abilities and skills and knowledge that she had in the last season. And I think we can easily overlook that. But she is the most powerful person in Westworld at the moment. She's got the highest possible intelligence. She seems to understand how to use all the facilities there. She can make hosts do exactly what she wants. She's got incredible sweeping powers, and if she gets knocked out, then she can bring herself back online. Mm-hmm. She doesn't have to have somebody else do it. So she's got all of that stuff going on, and we're going to see her use that later in the season, I'm sure. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I think that this just underlines how important the Mesa hub, the main Delos base underneath Westworld, is, because the hosts, we think of them as being these kind of immortal bodies, but if they get sort of knocked out or killed on the surface, then in order for them to carry on, they need to be rebuilt. They need to be rebooted, and that has to happen within one of these labs.
Yeah.
So if the host uprising is to succeed in any way, then we need to see the hosts taking proper control of the Mesa hub, and I think that we will. I think that Dolores will lead a little mini invasion of it. I think that was probably what Angela, when she rode up to her and Teddy towards the end of episode 1, saying, "We found it." I think that they were saying they found an access point. So it is going to be central to the hosts getting access to underground. Is going to be central to gaining control of Westworld.
Yeah, and also Goddess 131 says, and she can control the other hosts. And at the moment, I think
absolutely.
I think she's the only one who can, right?
Yeah, so Ford, she seems to be able to do what Ford used to be able to do, which is just
get a little clicker or something.
Exactly. So we don't know exactly how she's doing that, but she's got these abilities, and that's why I'm saying she's the most powerful person out there at the moment.
Yeah. So and do you think she's like, if we were to have a protagonist in the show, do you think she's a protagonist, or do you think Bernard or Dolores are the protagonists, or do you think it's kind of like Game of Thrones? It might be like a 3-headed dragon. The 3 of them are the protagonists.
I think we've got many protagonists.
Yeah.
I think that there is. So the protagonist is the person whose actions drive along the story, and Maeve certainly is that. One could argue in season 1 she wasn't a protagonist because it was all programming, and Ford was effectively in charge of what she did. But as of this moment going forwards, then yes, she's going to be a protagonist. But I think that we'll see, like, the Man in Black again is going to be a protagonist. So I think that there's quite a few of these, and it's something that has worked quite well for a lot of HBO shows, actually.
Yeah.
If you think
so multiple POVs, like kind of like Game of Thrones. And I mean, even this is the thing about the source material. I don't think it's done that way. I don't think the book is done that way, like the Michael Crichton version, whereas George Martin wrote Game of Thrones from multiple POVs. So they've decided to tell it, I feel, from multiple POVs.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So we're moving along here. Okay, so here's Stubbs. All right, there's been a lot of controversy about this. Is Stubbs? Do you think Stubbs? That's my question for you.
Well, the honest answer is I don't know.
Yeah,
but
same thing.
He was, to be clear, he was captured by the Ghost Nation towards the end of season 1, and the clear implication was that was Ford, who controls the Ghost Nation, getting him out of the way, because if you've got the head of security out of the way, then that makes it a whole lot easier for his grand plan to work in episode 10. And so the fact that he's been released or is out suggests one of two things, given the fact that he was overwhelmed. Either Ford was happy for him, that was it, he just needed him out of the way, and then for a short period of time, and then could be let loose, or he has been changed or upgraded or turned into a host in that time. I think that's probably, if I had to guess, I think he is a human still.
Yeah.
I've not seen anything to suggest he isn't. There's no sort of huge hints about that that I've seen, but he could be. It's just as we'll find with a lot of these characters, is that the answer to it is yeah, possibly. We just don't have the evidence to say either way. But until we see something, then I think we're assuming that he's human.
Yeah, and 30-day review says I want that vehicle. I couldn't pronounce it. Remember, I was having problems. Dune buggy. Is that right?
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Oh, good. This is a military grade vehicle for sure. Like, this is not like something you can just go into a store and buy, I think.
No, I think that's right. I mean, I think they've certainly made it.
They've got this group have some serious tech. Like when they're on the beach and they're doing that hologram kind of, I don't even know what that thing was called. Remember on their beach and they got the green hologram?
Yeah, it was a green hologram.
Like it was projections or something. It was pretty crazy. Yeah. So so the new character, the new significant character, of course, is Carl Strand, who is played by one of the SARS guards. It's sort of funny because we've got Stubbs, who's played by one of the you know, the, what do you call it? Sorry guys, who is he? His brothers, his two brothers are really Hemsworths. So Stubbs is played by one of the Hemsworth brothers, like the third Hemsworth brother, and Carl Strand. Yes, and then Carl Strand is played by like the third Skarsgård character brother. So we've got like I feel kind of like we've got the not as famous ones. No, they're both really great actors though. So tell me what you think about Carl Strand.
Well, I really like the character that we've seen so far. I think it's he seems to be a person who has basically been told, you now can do what you want and you're in charge, and just go in there and do what you need to do. So I think that he has been empowered. He's the head of operations, so he may or may not be technically a security guy. He might just be a person who's in charge of making stuff happen. But whatever it is, I think the interesting thing will be what happens when he, assuming this happens, he meets up with Charlotte, because technically just going on their job titles, and we probably shouldn't just go on their job titles, but she should be outranking him.
Yeah, that's what I've understood.
Yeah, it's very clear he's coming in and has got the authority to do whatever he needs to do.
Yeah. Now, do you think I get the feeling that he sort of doesn't think that Bernard is on the up and up, that Bernard's hiding something before they get to the beach, that is?
Well, okay, if we just take his character as it's presented, he is the head of operations for this multi-billion-dollar organization that has just been told to come in and clear up a massacre in their prime park. Now, he is quite disdainful of Stubbs, as you would understand, because Stubbs is the person who... have I just gone off again? Hello?
Oh, Robert, sorry. I think we lost the stream there for a second.
Okay, well, I can...
Oh, we're rebooting here.
Okay.
What is going on? Oh no, we're still streaming. Apparently.
Oh,
yeah, I can hear it in the other room. Okay, we'll just someone's watching it in the other room. We'll just keep talking and hopefully it comes back. So anyway, so guys, let me know in the chat if you can still see us here. We hear you both, but you can't see us. You're both fine on my end, says 30-day reviews. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on, guys. Okay, so let's just go back to what we were doing here then.
So I think I was just talking about Carl Strand. So his attitude towards Stubbs is very obvious because he was the head of security when this thing happened. But when you think about what Bernard was the person who was right high up there in designing the hosts. And the hosts have just suddenly rebelled and are shooting humans. So there is a very good reason why he is very suspicious of Bernard at this time.
Oh, okay. So apparently they can see you. We hear you and see the logo. So something's happened with my camera. Okay, so anyway, I'm just going to go back to the pictures then here. Because then you won't have to look at my picture. Hold on, let me... Trying to do technology here is really crazy. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Maybe I don't have a... we had this happen earlier, guys. Sorry about that. And then... Just go here.
Well, we've got pictures. I can see pictures.
We'll have
anyway,
pictures.
So.
Yeah, we'll have pictures at least. Okay. So so let me go. Okay. So do you have anything else to add to this? Oh, what about the what do you think about this lady here? She appears to be sort of a significant character. When she goes through, she's going through all of the pictures to look, and then she sees Bernard. Someone had said that they thought it was I think it was Justin had said he thought it was kind of an archaic technology that she just had these cards that she's going through, and then she's like, oh, okay, there's Bernard.
I mean, I think I viewed that as being quite actually quite realistic because when you're in a situation like that, actually the thing that you're not quite sure about is the technology. The technology has gone wrong. Something has gone wrong somewhere. And so if you've just got cards in front of you with pictures on them, that works. That's nothing to do with the technology. If you're trying to look somebody up on a system, then who knows what's happening. So so I understood that as and that seemed quite realistic to me.
Okay. So we're going to move on now to the Man in Black. We'll do this, and then we can just maybe look at a few pictures from future episodes. How do you feel about that?
Perfect.
Okay. So this is after the massacre. This is shortly after the massacre. He was under a body, right?
Yeah.
He hid under a body, which is kind of clever. So what do you want to say? What do you want to say about the Man in Black's his journey?
Right. So I think this is absolutely fascinating what his journey is going to be. So he seems to have at the end of season 1, he seems to have got what he was wanting. There's real danger. There's suddenly he can feel alive in the park, whereas before it was like he was playing a game on easy mode and it didn't mean anything to him. But now he's obviously feeling more alive. But the question is what he does with this now. Does he just like ride around the park and see what's going on? Well, no, because Ford, as we knew would have happened, he had plans for after the massacre. He wasn't the kind of person who was just going to say, right, that's it, that's my bit done, whatever happens now happens now. So he has got the equivalent of the maze for the Man in Black. So he has created a game knowing that the Man in Black engages with this kind of thing. He has created something that he wants him to be completing.
Yeah.
Now, I think what this is going to be is taking him through this journey. And he says that the child Ford host says, it begins where you end and ends where you begin. The clear implication is this is going to take him on a journey back to where he was. So I think that this is a sort of a redemption arc. In some of the trailer footage, we see him clearly talking about to a host saying, you and your people are now free. And that's him recognizing that they are free and sentient and can do what they want now. And then he's saying, I'm going to blow this whole place up, which seems to imply that he might have come to a realization that actually what this was all about is not a good thing. So he was going to try and so I think what we're going to see here is, guided by Ford, he's going to be going on a sort of a redemption arc through this season. The interesting thing will be who he engages with on this, because perhaps he had the sort of confrontation with Dolores at the end of season 1, but then the other character that we sort of saw in flashback that he had a huge confrontation with in the past was with Maeve.
Yeah.
If you remember, he shot her when she was being a farmer and her daughter. And that was him testing out to see whether he could feel. So I think that there's a reasonable chance that he will meet Maeve, and this is going to be part of his journey.
Absolutely.
Redemption, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's sort of all set up there then. Someone was asking how he would have been under the body for like 2 weeks, but yeah, it's supposed to be like, it would have been the next day. I would have assumed, like, it was the massacre happened at night. So he would have just hidden under the body.
Yeah. So
overnight. Yeah.
Exactly. So he woke up. He got up the next morning once Dolores had gone, and then we are going to see his story largely, unless other things happen. But his story is what happens in the next 2 weeks. So that's where his story is going.
Yeah. So, okay. And so here, this is just a picture of him from Entertainment Weekly. So he gets back to that cabin. I'm assuming that must have been his cabin, because he fixes his wound, and then he gets back into his Man in Black hat and his outfit. This is the same outfit from last season, actually. So he's just back to his costume.
Yeah, so he would, if you remember at the end of season 1, then Ford actually encountered him there dressed normally and saying, "Yeah, come along to the gala."
I didn't remember that. I didn't remember.
Yeah. So he was actually, and as a result, he then got changed. We assume because we then saw him in his tuxedo. So yes, he will have stashed his clothes somewhere.
Yeah, and being a VIP, he would, they would everything would be provided for him. They'd have his sizes. Everything would be, custom made for him. So they probably would have set it out for him. So, yeah. So this is going to be primarily his outfit. A lot of the characters are back in sort of their regular clothes. Dolores she's pretty much wearing what she was wearing before. Just her bodice is gone, so she's just wearing her chemise under it, really. So we'll just see a lot of that. So, and here I grabbed this picture. So this was an interesting scene. I don't know if this was you, but I was having a hard time understanding what Child Robert host was saying. Like they put sort of a reverb or something on his voice. I was like, what is he saying? I wish they gave me subtitles.
Yeah,
did you find that at all?
I think that was deliberate to make it quite hard for us to understand.
Oh, it was okay.
And I think it was that the idea was to show that this was him sort of glitching to another thing, to a different mode that he's had the programming put into him. So it's like you had this host who just, if you remember, there was that girl who Lawrence's daughter who when Dolores came up to her, she would then suddenly click into sort of talking about the maze. This, I think, is the same thing there. I think the man in black's here. I'm going to click into going through and giving this little spiel. So I think that's what was going on there. But yeah, he was saying he's got a game for the man in black, and it begins where you end, ends where you began, and so
yeah, it's a puzzle.
It's a puzzle, and we'll see what this means over the next few episodes.
Yeah, it's funny because Chrissy of Oldstone says I couldn't really understand what the heck Kitty Ford was saying. Same with me. I was like, what is going? And then Amberlyn says, what will be the consequences for killing young Child Ford?
I don't think there will be any. I think that so he was off grid, if you remember. So the Ford family hosts were off grid, so they weren't part of what was going on in the Westworld more broadly. And I think that Ford will have expected him to be shot because he knows the man in black.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's go. What have we got here? Oh, okay. So so I've got just a few more slides that we can look at. I was telling you today that there was a Korean trailer that had come out. I just sort of caught it. So I thought I'll grab a few pictures. So I'm not sure if you've seen any of these pictures yet.
I haven't, but I was actually wanting to ask you a question about Maeve's costumes because I've seen 4 or 5 different costumes, and I was wondering whether or not you had worked out what sort of iteration they are. What does this tell us about the story? Because she obviously starts off wearing the sort of the nice, is it a black dress or something? But then she doesn't seem to have that on for the rest of the season. So do you have any idea about what happens when?
Well, the impression I got was the black dress was to basically smuggle her out of the park, right? So I think Felix got her that dress. And I was talking to Justin about this. So in the park, the hosts, we call them the greeters, I guess you would call them the greeters, the hosts that welcome the guests when they come into the park. The girls and the guys too all wear like kind of just a very simple outfit. So during the day they wear white, and then at night they wear black. So I think what she was wearing was just a host outfit, like a greeter outfit, that black dress with the black shoes. So I think she just is planning on going off and doing some stuff. So she probably was like, I got to get more comfortable here. And I'm not sure where she got these clothes from. So that will be, we'll find that out. But it's kind of got a bit of a Western flair to it. So I just assumed she just ransacked the wardrobe department, Now, one of the things I want to say about this picture on the far right, there's a foot there. So I don't know what's going on there. But she's sneaking out of the shaft. And so I'll just go ahead here. So she's just come out of the shaft here, Robert.
Oh, yeah.
So, this is sort of in the bowels of the facility, I assume. And then she's just come up through the graveyard here. And one of the things we're seeing is she's holding a sword, which is really odd, but I don't think it's the katana, the Japanese sword. So it's really hard to know what is the timeline here. So I think you can assume it's after, she had that, after she repaired, what's his name? Hector's wounds, and she made, Lee Sizemore, strip for her. It just seems logical this would be after that. So
yeah, I think it does. To me, it looks like quite a Japanese sword because of the guard, the to the pommel,
hilt.
the hilts,
Yeah.
quite circular, which is quite a that seems quite a Japanesey style.
So
So
if I bounce over here, so I'm going way ahead, guys. If you go over here, I have a picture of her holding it. See how much longer it is?
yeah, I think they're different. I think they're
different
different
swords.
weapons. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're it's not the same sword. But so I it's just wondering, where did she get that sword from?
Well, the working
Okay.
assumption before this season, when we knew that she was going to be in Shogun World, was that in order to get to her daughter, she went a different way around. So she sort of went through there and then made her way into Westworld through the back door, because Westworld had been all shut down. So that was the sort of the working assumption, was that the Westworld facility goes into lockdown, and so Lee Sizemore says, well, you can't actually get out into Westworld now, but hey, we could go down this tunnel, nip across into the next park, go through there, and there's a back door that way. So that was what we were thinking. I don't think we know yet whether that's actually what has happened, but it certainly looks as if she's escaping out of the underground area into there. That looks to me. Is that on that shot there? Does that backdrop look to you sort of Westworldy?
Yeah, I thought this was like the Westworld graveyard. There's been a scene here, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So my guess then is that she's got.
Although it could be wrong.
Well, if there's a cross there as a grave, then that's a lot more of a Western thing than it is a Japanese thing. I think the line's gone down again.
Come in pairs, one long, the other short. So it's possible that it's part of a set.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree with that one.
Yeah.
I think that, and I think that, just to finish off the thought I had a moment, it looks to me like she's been through some sort of service shaft from Shogun World into Westworld. So
sure, because this is her coming. This is her coming up. You can see she's got the sword in her hand. She's coming up through the shaft, and then you guys will have to. I'll have to put the link to this trailer, and then this is her climbing out of the shaft. So it's possible that she crossed over from Samurai World through the bowels of the facility, and then came back up to Westworld. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think it's a Tanto sword. Is my guess, without having huge amounts of knowledge of it. So the katana is the longer one, and the shorter one is a Tanto sword.
Sure. Yeah, and Chrissy says, is that the graveyard by the church? Maybe that could be.
I think it could be. It's only the mountains in the background that are confusing me. Sure.
Okay, so let's go. Okay, so this scene. Oh, sorry, guys. This is really dark. This is from the trailer. But we can see that Hector and Maeve are sort of closer to us, and then they're having a parlay, it looks like, with Dolores and Teddy.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the pictures at the moment, Heidi.
Oh, you're not? Oh, shoot.
I don't know whether other people are. I've just got your little avatar.
Oh, dear. Okay, let me try again. Sorry, guys. This has gone horribly wrong. Okay, let me try this again. What about now?
I can now. Yeah. So yeah.
There. Yeah. So again, this is from the new trailer. You might have seen this You might have seen this before, though. Have you?
Yes. So this was in the, or if not this exact shot, then one like it was in the trailer, the main trailer for season 2.
Yeah.
So what it basically tells us again, and I think this is later on. So after she's been, this might all be completely made up, but after she's been through Shogun World, and her and Hector, we don't see Lee Sizemore here, so maybe he's not there anymore. There is this confrontation with Dolores and Teddy. So they're two different approaches to what, or reactions to what has happened is I think that the key thing here. So we saw that there was the voiceover here on the trailer when Maeve is saying that revenge is just a different prayer at their altar, and this is her saying, you know what, if you allow them to keep on dominating who you are and how you act, then they're still in charge of you. They still have control over you. You're not actually free because you're overtaken by this need for revenge against somebody else. So there's clearly a difference of opinion there between them.
Yeah, and one of the things I noticed is like Hector's back in his Western costume, like back in that leather jacket he wore in season 1.
Yeah.
So she's fixed him up, and I guess he's gotten. They found his clothes somehow. So back in that, and then and we hear on this picture we have Maeve, and then we can see Hector sort of on, to the right of her, holding a gun. She's got like a pretty bad gash on her neck, and it looks like who do you think are behind her there?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, that certainly seems to be in Westworld, but this was a sort of a one of the stills that was and bits of the trailer that it wasn't clear. We didn't have any context for it. There seems to be a battle which happens at this point. We can't see exactly who is battling who, but Maeve then sees something and runs towards it. So
sure.
I wonder whether what's happening here is that she is finally managing to track down where her daughter is, and then she sees her. That's pure speculation. There's nothing more to that.
And then this sort of wrap she's wearing is the same one she's wearing here. I don't even know if this scene actually happens or if it was just for the Super Bowl, because obviously she's back in the facility here.
Yeah, so she does go back. I think what they said was that this was a scene from the season. Okay. But they obviously they changed it around a little bit, slowed things down, made it look more cinematic for the trailer.
Yeah, and she's covered in blood here. So she's been through, she's got some blood here on her neck. She's wearing the same outfit here, and this is just the same outfit. She's just wearing like this. I could just tell she's wearing that wrap over it. I call it like a serape. It's got like some sort of a, bandito kind of feel to it, I think.
So what's she got under there? Can you tell what
she's wearing? That same little jacket with the white blouse and the black pants and that little kind of corset. It's that same outfit. She's just put this on top at some point.
Okay. So what this suggests to me is that she does get damaged. We saw another again from the trailer. We saw a shot of her. It looks like waking up in the Delos lab, and then this is her perhaps working her way back out of it again, because she can wake herself up. We know that she will be able to fix herself.
She can fix herself. Yeah. Okay. And then now we saw this picture before. It's like you have kind of can't look at this picture too close. It's a little bit, but you remember, like, we looked at this really early on, like when I came on your stream, and you had said that you thought that might be like a geisha in behind, and I'm actually coming over to your side on that, because we've got Maeve in the foreground, and then that's Hector to the right. I'm pretty sure, and it's snowing. So it's possible that they maybe could be in Shogun World. What do you think?
Well, I think snow doesn't seem to be a very Westworld thing.
That's exactly. But in northern Japan, it can get quite cold.
Exactly. So I think that this is looking likely to be her in Westworld. She clearly looking at, I don't know if you've ever seen someone who's never seen snow before, and when they see it for the first time, they get the same look on their face. It's astonishing. And so, yes, I think this is in Shogun World. We had a long debate about, as I say, that you said the character in the background, whether that's Felix or perhaps someone in sort of more geisha costume. I haven't seen Felix yet this season, and we don't know where he might be. So it would seem odd to me if Maeve suddenly found him and brought him along for the ride now, because one would have thought that she would. Well, and
he could have just gotten killed. He could have just gotten killed during all the because people were shooting, and no one's like. We don't even know where what's her name is.
Armistice.
Armistice. We don't even know where Armistice is. So there's
she's going to be a wild card. She will be important later this season.
She's a wild card. Yeah, we haven't seen Elsie, so there's still a lot of characters that are in play that we haven't seen yet. So I threw this scene, and this is from the new trailer. It was funny because James Marsden, who I saw him on an interview, and he was saying that that Teddy doesn't get any this season, but obviously he was lying. So there is like some romance going on here.
Yeah, well, fair play.
Yeah, so I thought that's right. So this scene here,
it's been a rough time. I think we can allow them that.
Oh, I know, totally. They're probably technically speaking. No, I won't get into that. Sorry, never mind. I was going to get into something I probably shouldn't. So this is a pretty important scene. We've seen this quite a bit, like in quite a few of the trailers.
Yeah.
So it just and obviously this must be in the present because of what she's wearing. And Bernard still has his glasses here.
Yeah.
So do you think this is sometime between the massacre and the time that Bernard is found on the beach?
I think absolutely. I think that's so. This is one of those the imponderables, and one of the things which is going to be absolutely crucial to how the season unfolds is when these two meet, because Dolores, again, this was one of the things which was slipped out in the last episode of season 1 when there was so much going on. Little bits of information were dropped in that we all kind of missed. Dolores met Bernard there in that last episode, and she recognized him as Arnold, and she started tearing up because she remembered what had happened. And then we heard in her say in this season how she remembers everything that's happened. So she remembers all of it. So when they meet, this is actually going to be quite a significant moment because they'll get a chance to actually talk to each other. And there was the voiceover here, which was of Dolores saying to him about how they are things of beauty in the same way that the old Dolores, the rancher's daughter, would say things. So it's almost as if she's escaping a little bit from her old Wyatt personality when she comes into contact with Bernard. I think this scene is pivotal, and it may well also be pivotal to what happens with the lake and the bodies as well.
Well, in a way, he's kind of like her father, like her creator, right? In a way, like I'm sort of thinking about like Blade Runner when the replicants go to find their creator, their father, and they have that moment that they've never met him. But here she has, obviously, but she's having this moment with him. Obviously, it's pretty emotional for her. You can see.
Yeah, and I think that what we will see in whether it's in flashback or a full timeline, I don't know, but what happened 35 years ago, because when we see her out in the outside world, it's with Arnold, I think.
Yep. Sorry, go ahead, Robert.
I was going to say, so I think we're going to see actually what the extent of their relationship was. There's lots of thoughts around that perhaps he built her based on a woman that he loved, or perhaps that they developed a special bond between the two of them. But there's some history that I think we're going to find out about in this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's sort of been that, we know he was married. It was funny. We were talking about this. How did he make a phone call to his wife? Remember we were talking about that? And the actress, I think it was, I can't remember her name. She's from Firefly, played his wife, but there is some idea that perhaps his wife and him would split up, and then because they lost a child, which is pretty common, so he might have had another love interest. And one of the things we were talking about here, let me just go to it here. Here in this scene, can you see that, Robert?
Yeah.
Could this perhaps be a flashback? And is this actually a host, or is this a real woman? Is that very tinfoily?
I don't think it's very tinfoil. I think with Westworld we can have quite a broad range of tinfoil. My guess is that this is a host, because I think, and you'd be able to tell me about this, but when you get the shot of her looking out across the skyline. I think that's in the same dress, which seems to imply it's the same
it
person.
is.
And she has a look of wonder and awe on her face, as you would expect a host who's never seen a city skyline, rather than a normal human who has.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sorry. I just want to say we got 2 super chats. This is so great, you guys.
Fantastic.
Thank you. From Peglegpete, $5 said, have a drink on me later. Aw, that's so nice. Thank you. And then Carrie McDonald, no question, love y'all. $3 from Carrie McDonald. Thank you so much, guys. You guys are the best. Seriously. There was a really is it Ian Trone or Ian Trone says that picture is from Harlequin World. That was the one of where is it? Yeah, I'm gonna have to put some music on that, some Barry White on that. Do a video. So let's go back to this one then. This is have you seen this? This is new
only just
information.
yeah.
This is from the Korean trailer.
Yeah.
And so I just grabbed 2 pictures. So basically he's on the ground. Bernard is, and he has a threatening Clementine standing over him. Looks like maybe he's even like begging for his life or something. So I don't know what's going on here. We know that she has like a screw loose or something. She's not I don't know how you describe that. Maybe you can explain this better than me.
Well, so what we know, and incidentally, I think it's pronounced Iron Throne, as in Iron Throne.
Oh, Iron Throne. Okay, sorry, Iron Throne.
Of course, she was the host, if you remember, when Charlotte Hale was trying to do some rather convoluted plan to make it look like Ford was not in control of the hosts. Yeah. She made her glitch. And as a result of that, they then decommissioned her as a host in the park, and she went down into cold storage. Now, I've had a long and quite detailed discussion. I think it was with Justin on one of our live streams about what that actually means, because the phrase used is lobotomized, but then Bernard actually sort of challenges that and then says, no, actually, it's more like being hobbled. Which
yes. That's a horse term or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So you tie
the
horse's legs so it can't actually run around and be a horse and do horsey things. It still is a horse, but it just can't do what it should be able to do. So that's her position when and she was one of the hosts who came up from cold storage and then formed that, if you remember, at the very end of the season, formed that group who were doing the ambush, and she was the one who shot the man in black. So we do not know exactly what's going on with her, but we assume that basically she's had her personality has been drained out of her, and there's not much going on there. So that's where she's at. It's very hard from the pictures we've seen of Clementine in the trailers. Yeah. It's quite hard to work out her timeline in this. At some point, she seems to be being chased down by some of the Doom buggies. Here, she seems to be out and free. I think I saw her with Dolores's army at one point. Yeah. So she clearly gets caught up with Dolores. She clearly gets hunted down at some point by the humans, and this is perhaps when, or one of the occasions when Bernard and Dolores come into contact, if she's there as part of Dolores's team at this point.
Yeah, Carrie McDonald says Lee found Hector's clothes. Lee Sizemore. Aw. Yeah. I hope he's okay. Yeah, he had to do that full frontal though. It must have been pretty awful. Oh, and Goddess131 says, I love Armistice. Yeah, she's pretty awesome. And by the way, I found her hat. Like, if anybody wants her hat, I found the source of it. So I was thinking of getting it. It's just a straw hat. You can get it on Amazon. So it's a pretty, it's like a 10-gallon hat sort of style, I think they call it.
Yeah.
So Mr. Caller 123 says scene happens. Oh, he's talking about the trailer, the Super Bowl trailer. Scene happens. Every scene of the Super Bowl trailer happened except the last one where she says our world, according to Jonah. Yeah. So that all happened. So we have yet to see this the raging of the bulls or the running of the bulls.
Yeah.
And then Amberlyn says, Carrie says, thanks, enjoy you too. Oh, something. Okay, never mind. The background figure looks like a kimono and red belt. Yeah, she's talking about the scene here. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So like, and the obi is quite wide. So yeah, I think Robert, I think you got that one right. I'll have to give you that one. I'll have to send you a box of chocolates for that.
Well, I should take that. As I said, I think I'm one of the very few YouTubers to have done 2 full predictions videos before the season. So I think there'll be quite a lot of things I got wrong by the time we get to the end of it. So I'll take any successes where they come.
Totally. Mr. Caller 123 says, why has Bernard no scar in the beach present timeline? We sort of talked about that, but do you want to answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, so again, the answer is that we do not know, but he seems to have been either patched up, because if you remember in episode 1, he clearly had brain gunk leaking out of his ear or whatever it was, and his hands were shaking, and he was clearly in quite a lot of distress. So he either has been patched up.
Yeah.
Or
go back to that,
this is another one of the Bernard hosts. We've seen that there are a few of them just down there. So one of those 2 things has happened, and so there seems to have been some sort of somewhere in this 2 weeks. There's a break in Bernard's timeline is probably the wrong way of saying it, but something cataclysmic happens with the lake being created, with the hosts there all apparently drowning, Bernard apparently being responsible for it in some way, and then him waking up looking slightly dazed and confused. Something happened there that we don't know exactly, but yes, he's either been patched up or it's a different Bernard.
And 30-day review says about Clementine, sounds like she's my kind of girl, pretty with one heck of a screw loose. Haha. Yeah, although she looks like she might be on a murdering rampage, so I don't know if you'd want her as your girlfriend. She does seem quite out of it. There's one scene where she's just standing like with her looking through some glass with her hand on the glass. Do you remember that?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's another one when she's sort of apparently riding a horse, and she seems to be just gazing into the distance. So yeah, it's I think her full name now is Poor Clementine rather than just Clementine.
Yeah, someone Eintrone says Clementine is the new Patch Face. What's that a reference to?
Patch Face is a character in A Song of Ice and Fire who didn't make it onto the show.
Oh, okay.
But he basically he was a jester. He was brought in to Dragonstone actually well before everything starts, but he drowned at sea and then came back, sort of survived it somehow through some magical means, and now he's just completely lost all of his sense of self and personality, and is just a little bit odd.
Oh, I just want to say a shout out to Red Rocket Resells. She just popped into the chat. She's in my my group of creators. It's so nice to see you. She said, "Hey, had to come by. Thank you so much. Except my camera is not working, so we're just on a slideshow at the moment."
Well, I shall wait for you.
Oh, thanks. Chrissy of Oldstone says the tablet Bernard is looking at before he injects himself says his brain thingy is corrupted. That's true, right?
Yeah,
it looks like he's got limited time. I think there's a countdown of how long before he expires. Did I not see that?
You did. I mean, I've not looked in detail at that.
Yeah, me neither.
The way that I interpreted it was that he's got brain fluid leaking out of his ear, or the gash in it there, and that's needed in order for their brains to keep working.
Yeah.
And so when that all leaked out, it's like if the oil in your car all leaks out, it'll just start grinding to a halt. So that's how I interpreted that. And then what he did was he just he stole some with the syringe from the host that was lying down there, injected himself. So he's not patched himself up, he's just topped himself up, but it's still going to be linking out.
It says the Bernard in the control room shooting has a scar, which was before Maeve arrived there. And the one with Charlotte has a scar, though that should be around the same time. No, it's a different time, right? in the control room.
The control room sheet. So this is something. Correct me, Mr. Collar, if I.
Mr. Collar 123.
Yeah, if I'm misquoting you here, but this is something that we've seen in the trailer, that there certainly seems to be a big battle in the, the sort of the central control room in the sort of the Delos hub. There seems to be some sort of a big battle going on there, and Bernard is witnessing it. So there, I haven't checked, but yes, I can well believe he has a scar there. My assumption is that scene happens at some point in this missing 2 weeks. And so that is the same Bernard body that we see in the immediate aftermath of the massacre. So that's there. So at some point after that, but before the 2 weeks later timeline, is when either he gets patched up or we are seeing a replacement.
Sorry, Robert, wasn't laughing at you. I was just reading this. Everyone's trying to explain it's 72% of an hour left he had. But now that was probably before he put the fluid into his neck.
Yeah, so that was exact. So my interpretation was that he had a matter of a few minutes, and then he gave himself a top up
because he was ready just to collapse. He was collapsing.
Yeah, so he's not fixed himself. He's just done a short-term measure to keep himself going for a bit longer.
I was wondering, like, this is one thing I was wondering, because even though he's that would have probably been really painful to do that while you're awake.
Yeah, I guess so.
I was thinking that. I'm like, but of course he was so out of it. Maybe because oh, here was this picture here. Okay, this is Lee Sizemore. Or sorry, this is Stubbs. I don't know if there's much we can glean from this picture. This is from the trailer. It looks like I don't know, maybe it's a beach. Tell much what's going on here.
Yeah, I don't think it's like one of those ones that. Yeah, you can't really tell. I think that this is part of that same 2 weeks later timeline where they're still doing their sweep around the park, just trying to kill and all the rest of it. So they're probably just in a different bit of the park doing that same job.
So this could be next episode. We're not getting a lot of information from that. And then this one here, this is from actually the Entertainment Weekly. These were the ones that were released at the beginning. So, we had the one dress that's black, but this one, she's wearing a white dress, but she's in front of a house. I thought this looked like her farmhouse.
No, I think this is the same dress that we see, and I don't know whether you've got the picture, but we see her sat at a piano.
Yes. I don't have the picture. I don't think I have it, no, but I know what you're talking about. She's sitting at a piano, which looks like the same apartment, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's this house.
My guess is that might be the house. I don't know, but in any event, this seems to be 30 years ago. So this is a timeline we haven't yet seen in this season, which is picking up with William and Logan after what happened with them. And she seems to be, as part of this, she seems to be one of the hosts who seem to be out in the sort of the outside world as a sort of I don't know, party guests / entertainers / whatever. We were talking about this last episode. I mean, this like this and then this. I mean, I feel like the people at these parties are like escorts. She's sort of like one of the things that happened in the Westworld show I watched last night is that well, it's interesting. They refer to one of the hosts as entertainment model, kind of like a love model, kind of like Pris in Blade Runner, and I just feel that these women are there, pretty to look at, but also, if the guests want to partake, that's what my impression is. They're like hired, they're like sex slaves. Yeah, and I think one of my views, which I said out in my predictions video, is I think in that timeline we're going to be seeing William and Logan, and we're going to see their different views for what the park is. Logan very clearly sees this as a theme park, as a place to go and have fun. Yeah,
like hedonistic.
Exactly, and we saw him do that when he was in the park, and then we've seen a shot or two of him in the trailers of him doing it outside of the park, and so that
there's a scene where actually they're all
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Do you see this picture?
No, I'm seeing your little avatar again.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Here we go. Sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on there. And then I don't know what's going on here. My camera was turned up. I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on, and I don't have any tech help here. So okay. So I'm just gonna go back to sharing this the PowerPoint again. I guess it just conked out.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you see it now?
I don't yet, but I mean, I'll carry on talking while you're doing this. So I mean,
Okay.
So we've got in that timeline, and we've got William and Logan. We've clearly got Logan, who sees Westworld as being this kind of theme park and a place where people can have fun. And I think we will see William be the person who can pitch to James Delos about what the actual real benefits of Westworld could be in terms of what you could use the technology for. And I think that we're going to see this as being the genesis of what is Delos's big secret plan. And I think we're going to see that start up there. And I think that this is as much as I was saying that we're going to see the Man in Black on a sort of redemption arc when he's sort of like going up from being a black hat, heading more towards, if not a white hat, then a grey hat, perhaps. We'll see, I think, William go the other way. So he is then going to be the person who's actually going to be behind this idea, really pushing this idea about what the evil plan is going to be.
Yeah. Sorry guys, I don't know what's happened to my camera, and I just sent an SOS out for somebody to come down and like look at what's going on here. Oh, I think he might be here. My tech help is here. So Robert, I don't know, like the camera's out for some reason.
Well, shall I talk for a while?
Yeah, why don't you talk for a moment while go ahead.
Well, actually, why
don't we take this opportunity? You can tell everybody a bit about what's going on with you in the next week.
Excellent. Well, I was about to do just that. So thank you. For those who don't know me, my channel is called Deep Geek. I look at Westworld and Game of Thrones. I try to I call it insight and intelligent debate. So we try and not just go at a superficial level, but actually try and dig into things. So in terms of Westworld, I've got a live stream I'm doing every Sunday, a few hours before the show airs. It's going to be at 5 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. This time it will be me, and I've got special guests on each week. And I have Justin Thomas from the Justin Thomas Show, and also Hax Dogma, who, if you haven't come across yet, produced some really good videos in the last season of Westworld.
Yeah, sorry, Hax Dogma. He's I've met him online. He seems like a lovely, has come into the chat or to the streams before. So are you going to be doing some collabs with Justin and Hax Dogma?
Yeah, so this is my live stream tomorrow. I'm going to have both of them on, and we're going to be looking forward to episode 2 and making a few predictions about that, as well as picking up anything else that comes out from episode 1. So that's what I'm doing every Sunday as a pre-show. Afterwards, within 24 hours, I'm going to get my episode breakdown and explanation video out for that episode, and then I'm going to aim to do one more bit of Westworld content every week. Probably a video on whatever the question is everyone's asking that week. I'm also going to carry on doing, and I'm just going to keep talking for a while. Heidi, just tell me to stop when your technology is working. I'll just do an extended advert. This is fine. So that I'm still going to be doing Game of Thrones stuff as well. I do a theory video normally once a week, literally just before I came on air here. Then my latest one was uploaded. That's about Quaithe, who book readers will know has got a much bigger role in Daenerys' life in the books than she did have on the show.
Oh yes, Robert. Do you think she'll be coming? Do you think they'll touch back to her in season 8?
I think probably not. I think that the show is probably decided it needs to be as focused as it possibly can on the characters that we've already got, without bringing up characters that appeared for one episode in season 2. I think that it's only nerds like me who care about these kinds of things. But she's clearly got a role in the books, and she's been the person who's been guiding Danny all the way through this. So my video on that has just gone online, and also I do weekly a traveler's guide to Westeros, just going through the different locations of Westeros and actually just trying to investigate them as if we were traveling there. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? What's this world that has been created, and what are the foibles and the interesting little things that you see at a ground level. So that's what I do on my channel. Do you need me to talk for some more, or is
we tried to get I don't know, we don't know what's happened with the camera, guys, so I'm so sorry. You get to see my avatar. You don't get to see me.
It's a fine avatar, but it's no substitute.
It doesn't really look like me. I just, it was one. Actually, I am going to be getting some pictures done, and eventually, and then hopefully I'll have those up instead of using that cartoon. But so guys, Robert, I want to thank you so much for coming on here. This has been so amazing, so educational. I have learned like so much, and you never disappoint. Like, honestly, you don't. So it's been such a pleasure having you.
Well, thank you so much.
I just want to go back to just see if there's any final thoughts that people have. Where am I here? Now I'm all lost. It's a good thing we can just go with the flow. We have a very understanding audience. So what are they saying here? You dropped off there a few seconds back. You back now, or no picture or vid. Oh, you know what it was? 30-day review said that. Yeah, Jack was trying to figure out where my picture is, but I have a feeling we'd have to just stop the broadcast and restart it. That's probably what's going on. So Mr. Caller 123 says, when Maeve arrived in the control room, there was a dead bear. Oh yeah, I think I noticed that too. In the Bernard scene there, which was in the flashbacks at the beginning, not the trailer, we see the bear fighting. Really? Do you remember that?
I don't. I would have to go and have a look at that. But
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I've no idea. Sorry.
Oh, so Mr. Caller 123, he surmises that means that Bernard was there before. So we'll have to look into that, or you'll have to look into that. That sounds pretty cool.
Happily will. Yeah.
Oh, Aaron LaFay's here. Hi, Aaron. He's one of my Aaron went out for dinner tonight. It's his birthday. Aaron's your birthday today, I think. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, and Aaron, my picture's gone, so sorry, having some technical issues. So he said, just wanted to drop in real quick, have fun in the stream. That's so nice. Thank you so much. Amberlyn McKay said, I butchered Clementine, wondering if she might be another story arc for finding some level of awareness, memories coming back very slowly, unless Delos gets a hold of her. Do you have anything to say about that?
So you may have to repeat it. I think.
Oh, did I drop out there?
No. That was me just paying attention
sorry.
to something else. So I mean, I think you got a super chat from Amberlyn earlier as well. Actually,
I did. Yes, we did. Yes,
fantastic.
She's so lovely. She says, I butchered Clementine. I don't know what she means by that, but she says, wondering if she might be in another story arc for finding some level of awareness, memories coming back very slowly, unless Delos gets a hold of her. Like, is it possible maybe she can be repaired? Is that what you mean, Amberlyn? I don't think without her being repaired, like by Maeve.
Yeah. So the implication is that she, as far as we know, there are two sort of bits to the host. We've got the host body and we've got the host consciousness or mind or whatever it is and so yes, you could. What seems to have gone with Clementine is not the body that's still there; it's the mind or consciousness or whatever. Mm-hmm. And if it is, as Bernard said, not lobotomized, not just wiped clean, if it is hobbled, if it's just like tied up, then that implies that there is a way back.
Yeah, to untie the hobbling.
Exactly. Now,
it's a temporary impairment.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't know. It's one of these things again where we're going to be shown a lot more this season about how the hosts operate and what actually makes them work, and hopefully we will learn a little bit more about that. Yes, but I think we will probably see Clementine be in that kind of slightly vacant state for a lot of the season, I'm afraid.
Chrissy of Oldstone, she says, good night, everyone. Gotta go. Good night, Chrissy. Thank
Good
you
night.
so much for coming. Peglegpete says, happy birthday. I think he's talking to Aaron. He says, if this was a Game of Thrones chat, we'd have to send hookers and crossbows. Oh, you do it, mate. He said, hey, I made it. So we've got a few latecomers here. Thank you so much for coming. Amberlyn says, I butchered my first question about her. If Maeve could help bring her back. Oh, okay. Yes. I think, Robert, you answered that quite well, I think. I also want to tell you guys, okay, so what I have coming up this week, Robert, on Thursday, I'm doing a live stream guys. I'm going to be doing weekly live streams like every Saturday, but for some reason I have a few people who couldn't do a Saturday live stream. So Robert was fine with that. But so this Thursday I'm going to have Kristen Jones, and she's a cosplayer. So we're going to have her on. She does an amazing Melisandre cosplay, by the way. Robert, I think you'd really, her red gown. And then she also does other stuff too. So we're going to have her on. That's going to be really fun. And people can ask her questions, and we'll do a bit of a slideshow. And then next Saturday, I told this to Aaron already, that we're going to do, I have a segment called Show Your Art, where some of my viewers send me submissions on things that they've been doing, like either their drawings or their designs. And it's really, really fun, especially we get Game of Thrones. I haven't had anything for Westworld yet. Outlander. I get a lot of people, like Aaron does all kinds of movies and TV shows. So we're going to do that next week. I'm going to do a slideshow, or just show some pictures to some of my viewers. So I thought it'd be a really nice way to show that. So if anybody wants to send any submissions, I have my email in the description below. You're welcome to send that to me that way, or you can do it through Twitter if you want. I'm on Twitter. And the final thing I want to say is, so I have 2 Black Panther videos coming out. So there's going to be I think there's a DVD and a Blu-ray coming out on the 7th. So Marvel Canada let me interview the costume designer. And so I did that on Monday. So I'm going to be working on that video this weekend. So I'll have those 2 videos coming out. So I'm really excited about that. Any Marvel fans out there? Robert, are you into Marvel?
I am. I'm not. Yeah. I'm not going to claim to be an expert on it, but I loved Black Panther. I thought it was a great film.
It was great, eh? Yeah. And then, are you going to go see the next Infinity War?
Yeah, I've heard really good things about it. I know some people who've been in the last couple of days, and they say it's pretty epic.
I was 30-day reviews would know this, but we were in this other chat room today, and some guy, this jerk, comes in there and he starts talking about spoilers. I was going to kill him. So anyway, we won't do that. But anyways, Black Panther, it's been out for a long time. So, if you haven't seen it yet. But anyway, so I will have that coming out, and really excited about that. So, oh my gosh, Robert, thank you so much for coming on here and talking to my cartoon face.
And as always, Heidi. Well, it's as I say, it's a lovely cartoon face. Of all the cartoon faces I've seen, that's one of the best. So, but no, seriously, it's an absolute pleasure being here. I love what you do on this channel, and I'm always happy to support it. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And I'm so excited to see Westworld tomorrow night. Everybody, I think it's on at 9, and you're gonna have your pre-show. So I'll have to pop into that and see what you guys are talking about, and then you'll have your after show. And of course, last week you had your video really quick. Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. You must be exhausted.
Yeah, well, it's I could just work for the day. It was quite good fun, actually. The problem was doing it quick meant that there weren't no other videos were up for me to crib anything from, so I was just having to make it up myself.
Yeah. So, well, and this will get us through to the next few months, because when is Game of Thrones coming out? Do we have a date on that?
We do not have a date on that. We know it's going to be 2019. That we know that they're going to be filming through to early summer at least, and obviously they're going to have post-production after they've finished filming, so that probably adds on another 6 months or so. So it certainly won't be before January of next year, and it could be April, but I'm hoping for January.
Yeah, no kid. I know. Absolutely. So I just want to say thank you for everybody for coming, for the super chats. I'm just blown away by this community. It's just such a generous community. I want to thank 30-day reviews. this guy. He's got a really cool channel. Actually, I'm going to put it in the link. Like if anybody wants to check it out, what he does is he takes a product and then he tries it for 30 days and then he does a review of it. And so, you know, he's got it for a while. It's not like he just does an unboxing and says, okay, there it is, folks. So I think it's a really fun premise, and he's just, you know, super supportive of me, and we've gotten to know each other. This is the one thing that's great about this community, is everybody sort of helps everybody. And I love that. And I'm just, you know, blown away by all of you. So, and Robert's on Twitter as well. He's on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. So if any of you want to come, because we do a lot of chatting during the week, right? We do a lot of, with each other. We talk about we talk about tinfoil hat theories and stuff. So anyways, we'll sign off, guys. Thank you so much. Robert, any last words?
No, just to say thank you again for having me. It's been a great chat. I've been seeing all the questions coming through. It's been really good fun. So
yeah, I know. I'll have to go through the replay. So because I'm sorry, guys, if I missed any of you. It's hard to kind of do it at the same time. But okay, so thanks so much, guys. Okay, well, take care. Talk to you soon. Bye.